to Sports Extra, your premium online sports show. We are your hosts, Ruimbo Chakreka and Chiedza Gadzirai. Now, don't forget to like and share this page with all your family and friends, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter on the handle @SportsExtraZim.
Looking at today's headlines, Dynamos make additions to their squad. Onesimo Basela extends his contract at a South African club. Samuel Eto'o believes that Peter Motsimane can coach in Europe. And we also look at the Olympics weekend and day action. We look at international news and so much more. Now, our major discussion today is on cricket. Is Zimbabwean cricket making any progress? Please put your comments in the comment section below this video.
So Dynamos have added another youth development player in Tanyaradzwa Ginger to the senior team. Now the club submitted Ginger's registration papers to the Premier Soccer League before the second transfer window, which was closed on the 31st of July. The 20-year-old goalkeeper has been with the development side since 2013 and was part of the squad that won the Harare Junior League title in 2016. So it looks like Dynamos is going for a little bit of a youth system, promoting players. We've seen that the likes of Bill Antonio and of course Luke, the young man within the middle of the park, coming through from Prince Edward, who's part of their development side, coming into it. So interesting times ahead for Dynamos, regardless of the fact that there's no football that is being played as yet. But while still sticking to football, Onesimo Basela has signed a contract extension with his club SuperSport United. Now the defender will remain at the Pretoria-based side for another season after signing a one-year deal according to Kickoff. Now he was given a similar contract in 2020 and it expired in June. Onesimo Basela is age 35 and the Zimbabwean fullback has also played for the likes of Tembisa Classic, Golden Arrows, Maritzburg United, Kaizer Chiefs, Jomo Cosmos, and even Bidvest Wits. So it looks like the man is being called in for his experience and will most probably anchor and be the backbone of what SuperSport United will be looking to build. Now, coming through to our major discussion, as Chiedza did say, this August, which is what we're in now, marks 3 years. 3 years. Let me put it like this: 3 years since Lalchand Rajput took over the Zimbabwe cricket team. Now he has taken charge of 59 matches across all formats. He has won 8 T20s, 5 one-day internationals, and 2 test matches, and even drawn 1. But despite this low winning rate, the 59-year-old says he is impressed that the team is making progress in the right direction. But talking about people that are not quite impressed, the ZC had a board meeting just last week that was at the end of July, and they have tasked the ZC Director of Cricket, that is Hamilton Masakadza, to urgently come up with a turnaround strategy. They are not happy, Mr. Rajput. But in any case, they're going to be looking at a couple of areas. That is team selection, technical issues, performance of senior players, because some of them have just been quite poor. But anyway, one of our resident analysts, that is Dean Du Plessis, shared his sentiments on the overall state of cricket in Zimbabwe.
All right, Dean. So Zimbabwe cricket coming out of another series wasn't too great. In your own thoughts and your assessment, do you think Zimbabwe cricket is actually making any strides?
As a team, I would say no. Unfortunately not. You know, you play 7 games and you only win 1 and get outplayed in the majority of the games, definitely not. And it's a sad thing because, as we so often see with Zimbabwe cricket, we are surrounded with a group of incredibly talented young players. But because we don't have the consistency of the senior players, you know, these young players are expected to perform minor miracles. And it's not really happening. I mean, we've seen some very good stuff by Wesley Madavere at the top of the order in the T20 matches. Again, Dion Myers showing immense potential in the middle order. And Blessing Muzarabani as well, who now almost single-handedly carries the bowling attack. But, you know, none of these players have done the crossover from being potential to good. All of them have huge amounts of potential, but I wouldn't necessarily call them good yet, and there's no reason why that shouldn't change. But no, I wouldn't say that they, in terms of making positive strides as a collective team, which of course cricket being a team sport, I wouldn't think so.
So let's take a look in particular at the Bangladesh series and look at the vast contrasts between the three formats that we played. Zimbabwe only really being competitive in white ball cricket, but red ball cricket, lots of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done, and I mean it stems back from the second test match against Afghanistan. That's where it all started going wrong. You know, you're again, Basim Zarabani is worth mentioning because he's been amongst the wickets consistently. But you can't rely on one fast bowler, because at some point, unfortunately, Blessing is going to break down and will get injured. And there is nobody else who seems to be able to step up to the plate and consistently put the ball in good areas like Basim Zarabani has done. Another thing as well is that we need a spinner. These part-time spinners aren't working, whether it's Ryan Bull, Tendai Chisoro, Wellington Masakadza. None of them are wicket-taking spinners in Test cricket. They certainly are more than useful in the shorter formats, but not at Test cricket. And ever since Graham Creamer retired, we just have not been able to find that wicket-taking spinner who's able to actually turn matches, and it's costing Zimbabwe here.
All right, so maybe just looking at the director of cricket, Hamilton Masakadza, he's got a lot of work to do, particularly when it comes to the structures, but also quite a lot of flack has come through to the technical team, because we seem to be seeing our players making the same mistakes over and over again, whether it's in batting, it's in bowling. Our fielding has become atrocious, even though over the years we've been known to be better fielders than we currently have.
Yeah, I mean, fielding is totally and utterly unacceptable. You know, sometimes you can't quite change you could be in a situation where the opposition is bowling exceptionally well or batting particularly good, but fielding, there's never an excuse for bad fielding. And I mean, it just simply must come down to the fact that the majority of the players don't practice their fielding, which then I suppose to a certain extent does reflect on the technical staff, because they should be pushing the players to be practicing all their skills relentlessly. What also really concerns me a great deal is the bowling and the huge amount of extras that Zimbabwe give away with the bowling, and especially the wides. So you would have a situation where in the third and final one-day international there were 27 wides, I beg your pardon, 27 extras, which included 20 wides. So that's very nearly 5 overs, 5 extra overs. Then again in the third and final T20 international, 18 extras, out of which the majority were wides. Now, if that is happening on the field, then the question needs to be asked is, what isn't happening in the nets? And with the amount of no balls that, for example, we continuously saw from Dong Tiripano and also Richard Angarava, and to a lesser extent Victor Nyauchi, but it was mainly Tiripano and Ngarava who continuously bowled the no balls. Surely you have to have somebody there in the nets who's monitoring the bowlers and watching out for them as they get onto the danger zone area. But clearly this doesn't seem to be the case, because why would you not be bowling wides and no balls in the nets and then suddenly come onto the field and then start bowling?
Well, definitely there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but a great big thank you to one of our analysts, that is Dean Du Plessis.
A great big thanks to Dean there. So notable points that he talks about, and we do hope that Zimbabwe cricket will be taking this on board and planning right ahead. Now we are going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to be looking at some regional news.
Welcome back to the show, and let's look at what happened in Joburg yesterday in our regional news segment. Kaizer Chiefs beat Orlando Pirates 4-3 on penalties to claim the 2021 Carling Black Label Cup at Orlando Stadium. The game ended goalless after 90 minutes, even though Daniel Cardoso had a second half penalty saved by Pirates keeper Richard Ofori. Kama Billiard had a decent game as he looks to make an impact this season. And boy, does he need a good season. Moving on, Cameroon legend Samuel Eto'o believes Peter Mosimane has the capability to coach in Europe. Mosimane became the most decorated African coach when he led Egyptian Giants Al Ahly to their 10th CAF Champions League with a 3-0 victory over Kaizer Chiefs in Morocco. It was Mosimane's third African title after successive championship successes with the Red Devils. He also led Mamelodi Sundowns to their Continental Star in 2016. Mosimane has been very vocal about African football bosses rushing to Europe for coaches. He was particularly critical after the final win over Chiefs. Why don't we believe in Africans? The latest Africa Cup of Nations was won by Algeria, and they were coached by an Algerian, Jamel Belmadi. And the final was against a Senegal team coached by Senegalese Aliou Cissé. We sometimes give the Europeans too much respect and we forget who we are. Now we want to have a discussion on this issue with you, Ruvimbo. Do we give Europeans too much respect?
Well, in my own opinion, I think we have to take a look at this from two different dimensions. I think if we look in the past, when we were able to qualify for World Cup quarterfinals with our African teams, we saw that we actually had foreign coaches that were in charge of our teams. So from Cameroon to Senegal to Ghana, we had white gentlemen, or rather foreign coaches, that were in charge of the teams. But also at the same time, when we come and look at our own local examples, particularly here in Zimbabwe, it seems like the only time that we ever had a really, really good side was the Dream Team. But also at the same time, Reinhard Fabisch was not able to take us to the Africa Cup of Nations. So I think the argument can be looked at in two different dimensions. He is right to say, in a certain sense, that maybe we need to trust in our own, but the question is, how far have our own also been able to take us?
I'm talking about our own taking us to the dreamland, and we're looking at issues to do with world standards, and I'm sure that is why African teams actually look for European coaches, because they're coming from the template that we all want to read from, that we all want to aspire to go to. And we're talking about Fabish and the Dream Team. While that team never really went anywhere, apparently it is the real team that we actually really remember as that team that has been assembled. I want to take this further and look at our administration, though. Is it just about coaches? You're talking about Peter Mosimane and his confidence in African coaches, but are our own football administrations doing the things that they should do to have our coaches go to those world-class standards and make sure that these African teams can go to the world stages as well?
Well, you make a very significant point there, because when we look at our Ali, I mean, Peter Mosimane was destined to succeed with that side. He's got arguably Africa's most well-assembled team, most well-paid players, a club that generates money within the regions of close to the hundreds of millions of US dollars in terms of what they are able to generate. So going to coach Al Ali, I think, I mean, if I was to get one or two of my own coaching badges, I wouldn't fail with Al Ali, because you've really got a good system already. You've also got youngsters that are coming through the system. They've got a fantastic academy. So Peter Mosimane was destined for success. Also, we don't want to take away the pedigree of his ability. I would want to say that his exposure to Carlos Alberto Pereira when they coached that South African side in the 2010 World Cup was also something which has elevated his coaching capacity. He showed it with Mamelodi Sundowns, and that was after the 2010 World Cup stint in South African colours. And then we also look at what he's now able to do within the colours of our Ali. So there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to pick up another CAF Champions League, because he's got a fantastic side. So administration, structures, systems in place can also help you succeed. But if we also then look at it, in terms of Africa, you really don't get those things all working in your favor. So you've got a Sunday Mofumani, or Chizamba rather, who was the first one to take us there. It's not like we had the greatest systems in place, and we still don't have the greatest systems in place. Charles Mtlauri came through, he did the same. He was also able to take us through to the Africa Cup of Nations. Sunday Chizamba comes back again, and then he does it with a faulty system. So at the end of the day, I guess what Peter Mosimane is also maybe trying to push is to say that, look, we work in the worst conditions, but I think we can deliver the same results, don't you think?
Well, you make a point in terms of Pizza's aspirations as well, as you've also talked about what happens off the pitch affects what ultimately happens on the pitch. Obviously, you cannot have a coach being happy when their players are demonstrating right in the changing rooms just before an African match. But at the same time, just to conclude this discussion, why then is Pizza saying, or why then is Samuel Eto'o talking about Pizza having the capability to coach in Europe? Why do we always then have to aspire to go to Europe? In as much as he is saying that, we don't necessarily always need European coaches to come, but then do we also then just need African coaches to go to Europe? Why are we not then saying he then becomes one of the candidates to also coach fellow African countries because he is good enough? So that instead of just saying, well, we can also go to Europe, why can't we say we can also recycle our coaches all around Africa?
Don't have money.
No, but then we've got contracts that we sign equally with this. Let's talk about European standards, because when we bring in these European coaches, we have these huge contracts with these beautiful monies that are getting into their accounts. But then when we do that for our own fellow Africans, no, it's not a good issue. But that's exactly what has been happening, and I'm happy that at least Samuel Eto'o has been someone who's been very vocal when he talks about standing up for his rights, standing up for African rights. And when he starts talking like this, I'm sure that is the start of a very big conversation as well.
Well, start of a very big conversation, and we hope that it will continue. So you can also join in the discussion. Let us know, what are your thoughts? I mean, Peter Masmane saying, hey, you know what? We need to trust in our own. We need to invest in our own. I know even from a local perspective, people have been clamoring for Norman Mapeza to be taking over the job, and maybe even Tondra Indiraya to become the head coach. We know he's currently the assistant coach under Drafko Logarasi. So all these discussions are happening. So do let us know your thoughts and your comments. You can comment in the comment section below, and we'll definitely be able to read those out once we get through to the next show and really talk about some of these issues, and hopefully we can bring the kind of change that we would love to see. Well, as we mentioned before, we do value your interaction, so on any one of the topics, please do send through your comments and your thoughts in the comment section below, or even on our Twitter handle, and that is @SportsXtraZim. Now, the extra is without an E. Now, let's look at the international news, and we start off with international football. One of the hot topics is obviously what is happening on the transfer zone, and Aston Villa are reportedly ready to accept Manchester City's £100 million bid for England midfielder Jack Grealish. A little bit too much, I would say. But anyway, it seems that is the issue with the English players. Now, City made the offer that was on Friday, and according to Sky Sports, Villa are yet to formally respond to City's offer, but it is understood they are now willing to allow their captain to go. Now, the choice is now up to Grealish to decide whether to agree on the move or not. Now, this would become the biggest transfer in English football history. Now, the record is currently held by Paul Pogba, who rejoined Manchester United for £89 million from Juventus in 2016. Now, should Grealish make his way to City, then Villa will make a move for Norwich City midfielder Todd Cantwell. Talk about a downgrade in the kind of player that they're going for. Todd Cantwell, how would he be able to lift Aston Villa in the way that Jack Grealish has done? However, I do have my reservations about Jack Grealish. Will he be able to step up to the plate, particularly at the highest level, playing for Manchester City? At Aston Villa, every ball went through Jack Grealish. But at Manchester City, well, some balls don't even come to you because there's that much quality. Will he be able to step up to the plate with some of the goals that the likes of Raheem Sterling, Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne contribute to the overall success of Man City? Well, anyway, these are my reservations. I think Aston Villa to Man City is a huge step up. But while still continuing with the transfer zone news, we just look at that zone, and Colombian playmaker James Rodriguez has been told he does not feature in Rafa Benitez's plans at Everton and that he's free to leave if the club receives a suitable offer. Wow, cold shoulder there by Benitez, but at the end of the day, I guess he has to move on. Atletico Madrid have moved ahead of Arsenal in the race to sign Inter Milan's 23-year-old Argentine striker Lautaro Martinez, who is currently valued at 90 million euros. Now, Inter Milan have also turned down Arsenal's offer to include Spain fullback Hector Bellerin or France striker Alexander Lacazette as part of any deal for Lautaro Martinez. Tottenham Hotspur, who are under a new coach, have had a £43 million bid for 23-year-old Argentine defender Christian Romero accepted by Atalanta. So at least a good step in the right direction there for Nuno Espirito Santo. Bayern Munich manager Julian Nagelsmann has said that he's confident his 26-year-old Germany midfielder Leon Goretzka will not move to Manchester United, even though he has been linked, and that he will sign a new contract with the Bavarians. And French striker Karim Benzema will sign a one-year contract extension with Real Madrid, which will tie him to the club until 2022. So quite a bit of movement on the transfer zone internationally, and we'll be keeping tabs on it right here on Sports Extra. In more sporting news, well, it's quite sad, but I think he had done a pretty good job. Andrei Shevchenko has left his role as head coach of Ukraine. Now, the former Chelsea striker announced this on Instagram. He was appointed head coach in 2016 and he led Ukraine to the quarterfinals of the Euro 2020, where they lost 4-0 against England. It was a brutal finish to the tournament for him, but I think that he had done a fantastic job. He doesn't have any big names in that side, but they've been able to do the business. Let's now go to International Olympics. And there was a lot of action over the weekend, particularly in the 100 meters, which is where all of our eyes were on. My heart was broken. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, unfortunately not able to do it, but Elaine Thompson-Herah was able to pick up the 100-meter gold to become the second fastest woman in history, as she beat Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce to retain the Olympic 100-meter title. Now, the 29-year-old ran 10.61 seconds, which now becomes a new Olympic record and just 0.12 seconds short of the world record, which was set by US Florence Joyner Griffith. Now, in 1998, now Shericka Jackson completed a Jamaica 1-2-3 in the Tokyo Olympics with a time of 10.76, which was 0.02 seconds behind Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. There was a big bombshell, however, in the men's 100 meters as Italy's Lamont Marcel Jacobs then claimed a shock gold in the 100-meter final. Now, who would have thought that Italy would take the 100-meter final? You would think it would go to Jamaica, it would go to the United States, maybe Canada, but it went to Italy. It went to Italy. But he's not originally from Italy, so it's okay at the end of the day. But it went to Italy. Now, he streaked clear in 9.80 seconds. That's 0.04 seconds clear of American Fred Curley, whilst Canada's Andre DeGrasse won a second successive Olympic bronze as he came through in third. Now, what was interesting about the Olympic times, or rather the times that were run in this 100-meter final, you can imagine, in the London 2012 Olympics, Tyson Gay ran 9.80. This time round, in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, it is Lamont Jacobs who ran 9.80 in order to win the gold medal. So imagine, number 4 could have taken gold. Number 4 in the 2012 Olympics could have taken gold in this Olympics, meaning that this Olympic race was a little bit slower in terms of the run. In as much as 9.8 is quite quick, but it was slower. And I think at the end of the day, we're seeing differences in patterns, climatic shifts and changes, because we know that right now in Tokyo, it is quite humid and hot. So that most likely did affect the way that they ran. Now, some of the others that were supposed to run, that's the likes of Christian Coleman and Trey Braun, they were both absent from the final. Now, Coleman was banned before the Olympics for whereabouts failures concerning drug tests, whilst Trey Braun unfortunately ran just a slow time, and so he couldn't make it from the semi-final heat. Now, looking at other news, Venezuela's Yulimar Rojas set a new world record. That is the first to be broken in athletics at the Tokyo Games, as she won the Olympic gold in the triple jump. She jumped 15.67 to smash the previous best of 15.50 set by Ukraine's Inessa Kravets in 1995. So, interesting times. She was not even born at the time that this record was set, but she was able to break it. So congratulations to her, and I'm sure the country is celebrating. Now, while still talking about the Olympics, in the boxing side of things, French boxer Morad Aliyev staged a remarkable protest after his defeat by British boxer Fraser Clark because of the injustice of his disqualification. And he went and he sat in the ring. Now he was disqualified because of excessive use of his head. Now Aliyev spent 30 minutes sitting on the ring apron after the fight and left the arena, only to return to the same spot. Now, head clashes had caused cuts above Clark's eyes, and the British boxer who is now guaranteed a medal. So he went and sat. But whilst talking about that, there is history to these protests, actually. The longest known protest in a boxing ring at the Olympics saw South Korean bantamweight Byung Jong-il sit in the center of the ring for 67 minutes after losing a bout at the 1988 Olympics. So, just take a seat in the ring and maybe somebody will actually take notice. And of course, finally, in terms of our international news, we'll go to Formula One, where Alpine's Esteban Ocon took a maiden Formula One victory in an extraordinary Hungarian Grand Prix. Now, Lewis Hamilton regained the World Championship lead for the first time since May, and this was after fighting back to finish third, having been last 5 laps into the race. Now, his title rival Max Verstappen was a victim of an incident-strewn wet start, but managed to salvage a point for 10th place. Now, a race featuring an opening first few laps among the most remarkable in Formula One history left Hamilton with a 6-point lead over Verstappen as the sport goes into its 3-week summer break. But talking about some of the drama as well that was experienced there, while Aston Martin's Sebastian Vettel has been disqualified from finishing second in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Now, officials were unable to take the mandatory 1-liter sample of fuel from his car. Now, the decision would promote Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton to second place and extend his championship lead over Verstappen to 8 points. But unconventionally, for the time being, Vettel has been left in that final result spot pending an appeal outcome. Now, talk about rules and how they are sticklers for it, particularly the Hungarian stewards of Formula One. They say we couldn't take a 1-liter sample. We took 0.3 liters of a sample. Surely you would think that it's enough in order to determine whether a fuel was good enough or not. But at the end of the day, rules are rules, and this was known. So appeals are definitely going to come through from Alpine Tauri, and they are going to try and see Aston Martin, rather, not Alpine Tauri, which is where Esteban Ocon is driving from. But Aston Martin are definitely going to make an appeal of this and a fist of it, a fight of it, because they haven't seen any podium finishes in the last couple of races. So it's going to prove to be very interesting and very difficult as they go about this business. Well, my name is Rumbo Chakrega. I was joined by Chieza Gadzirai, my co-host. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sports Extra. Now, if you'd like to advertise on this show, you can get in touch with us on 0773 054 868, or you can send us an email on sportsextra, remember no E there, sportsextra30@gmail.com. Now until next time, stay safe, make sure that you mask up, sanitize your hands, and regularly on all of used surfaces in your home, and please get vaccinated against COVID-19. You never know, it could definitely save your life. Cheerio.